Hmm. And I'll see if it gives us more errors. Like maybe we have a winner. I doubt it, but more green wood. Green. Plenty of bark. Still more bark. More bark. Get the rest of this off the top. This actually has a little branch or something come through. Line off a little area at the top so I know where I'm going to. We're still not quite there. That's okay, we'll get there. We're gonna have to drop that down a bit. Might as well do that while I'm here. Can't have a knot hole on the rim. This won't work very well. Still a little evidence of it, but not much. So I'll make our curve a little bit more. See what still has a big chunk of bark in there. Gonna end up being a fairly shallow bowl. Which is okay, I guess. That's all bark. That's all bark. And now we're in balance. This is on a worm screw. Not a big fan of releasing pressure until we get it in balance. Less likely to pull it out of the threads with a screw. At least that's my thoughts anyhow. Wonders of working with wet wood is very dirty. Cuts like butter though. That's the beauty of it. Gotta go down a little bit more here right off the bat for sure. I still have a hole in there. I was going to make this a natural edge rather than a flat rim bowl, but I already had drilled a hole in through the bark to get into the solid meat of the material. You can see how wet it is. It's just that's water streaks going up across there. Very gone bark. You got to get rid of it. Still there. Thank God. Let's keep making it shallower until we get what we need. Because I want this to have a fairly big foot on it. So I need to get out into that area. I'll mark that once. When I know about where it needs to go. You're going to make the tenant, or at least start to make it. See if what that doesn't get underneath that last little bit. And it did. Perfect. Quite wet. A little sliver of bark on there. I'm not going to worry about that. I think we're good. One nice semi-clean cut for the button. This bowl here is not going to have a whole lot of interest to it. A lot of white on the outside. But it's got time to dry. It'll take quite a few months for it to dry, so not really too concerned about it. And it's kind of going in the wrong direction. It needs to be a little bit, at least a little bit dovetailed. I could probably just leave it at that, but we'll go after it a little bit with a scraper just to get a nice smooth transition out of there. That's probably pretty much what we need. Could mark a little center point, although there's a drill hole in there, but a little better one will help, maybe. Clean up a little bit up here at the rim. The spindle gouge will work just as well as the bowl gouge right here. Just to clean that up a bit. Good enough. On to hollowing it out. And it's plenty big. Not going to be a perfect circle, but that's okay. Clean up the space. Now we're in balance, so we can get the speed a little bit higher. Make it a little more efficient of a cut. Make a pile of chips in a hurry, though. What's up, Billy? Yeah, we're still looking for the same thing. Whatever reason, it didn't even talk to me in my ear tonight. I don't know. Yeah, this one's not going to have it. Got a little bit of dark on the outside. It's going to be like a kind of a boring, kind of a white ball. Billy, are you watching this on horizontal or vertical? Trying to get this dumb thing to cooperate and actually go back and do both. Don't feel too bad. Horizontal. Okay. I don't know why it didn't talk to me. Should have. Already deep enough right there. Get rid of a couple sharp edges. And you told me last night I should have been using my bottom bowl gouge. So we'll do a little overkill on this. Good enough for a wet bowl. This stuff is slopping wet. Probably do have some water droplets on the camera. You can't see them on the screen, but yeah, no, it won't be on that camera anyhow. Another one bites the dust. Very wet. This one does have a little bit of figure in it, but for the most part, it's a plain white bowl. So once it dries, we'll have to try and do something a little bit creative with it. On to the next one. I got one that's going to be more like a plate than anything. This one we'll have to start. This one we will start between centers. So we'll drive our frosted center in somewhere other than the lathe bed. This thing is very thin. Thinking of natural edge piece, but I don't think there's enough there to get out of anything out of it. So this might be one that we have to flip around more than once. It's got a sort of a heavier side and a very, very thin side. I think the only possibility, and it's also not cut very straight. Not a surprise, but I don't like to be I don't like to be sawing this stuff at this time of year with a chainsaw. It's too hot out. So you have a tendency, or at least I have a tendency to get in too big of a hurry. Wow. Huh. It's actually pretty close. I think what I'm going to do, I think I'm just going to true this up first. I think. Sounds like a plan, anyhow. Very out of balance. So that means you get to go nice and slow. Like I say, there's very, very little left there. I can see figure in there though. A little bit of color. I'll just come around this side and true up the bottom. Because it's pretty out of whack. Still a little bit left. I'm getting more interested in getting in here towards the center. So I can establish a tenet and then we'll just give it a little gentle curve. And make it into a plate. Something along those lines. Won't let me go a little faster. No. Nope. Just destined to make it work. Make it harder. It should have some crotch figure in the middle here. Somewhere. If we can ever get it squared away. Just give it a little bit of a curve. That's probably not really the best way of doing that. This is going to be one that we're going to end up probably turning it around. Get a bunch of this crap off the top of it. Now we have a flat surface. A little bit of a curve out there. Definitely going to lose some more diameter at some point because the bark is right there. Yeah, let's get it tented. since we're, let's not use the wide one. Since where we're at, I'll just use a parting tool. This parting tool is grounded at an angle to match the, at least closely match the dovetail. I have two of them, a wide one and a narrow one. Use the wide one just to go back in and flatten that out a bit more. Sneak in there along the live center as well with the spindle guide. That way maybe we'll be fortunate enough, hopefully, that it will. I hope it has some figure. It should. It did show that there was some. There's some running through there a little bit there, so maybe it's on the other side. I don't know. Guess we'll find out here very directly. Not much exciting, a tiny bit there. That's kind of disappointing in a way. Definitely could have made that pennant a whole lot smaller, but okay. We'll live with it. Now we get to get rid of some of these get rid of all this bark. And of course it is nice and tight. And that would be a really, yeah, I was gonna say, just thinking about leaving it and doing a more of a natural edge. It ain't gonna, it's not gonna do, this piece is not gonna do much of anything, period. At least that's my opinion. So we'll just go right through the bark. We're not the whole way through it, but we're gonna get rid of this big chunky stuff. That's the stuff that kind of whacks you upside the head pretty quick. It would decide to come off. Also has kind of an odd smell to it. Still a little bit there. I think what inevitably I think we're going to lose some diameter for sure. The bark's a whole way out there on that edge. And it will not stay there. And this bark is really thick. I don't know. Just keep chugging along with it. Okay. And it's still green enough and all that good stuff. Can't get that big chunk of bark to fall off or pull off. So definitely need to get rid of almost both of them. This might end up being a very white looking bowl or plate. At least now we get it a little bit better in balance, so we can go a little faster. Still not there. Hopefully we don't gotta go the whole way in there, but it's not looking very promising. Well, that is more promising than it looked. Tiny bit of figure, not much. Hmm. Still got to get rid of enough to get a tenon. I'm going to put another tenon on back here so I can shape the outside. I'm going to take one or two more cuts and take the diameter down a little bit more. I might end up with a paper thin platter, this plate. At least we're getting a little bit of thickness to it out there. This one's wet enough when I reach across I can feel the water hitting my arm. So I got a little bit of bark left. So that's a plus. Should be able to live with that. So another tenant. To me, this is a simple way of doing some of this stuff. You see all the black. You end up cleaning the lathe bed after this one, or after tonight. At least one thing when you do it like this, it gives me total access to the back of the piece, which is very nice. I like doing it that way. If I'm doing any kind of flat rim bowls and things like that, it's generally what I will do is create a pennant on both sides, or at least get the tenant on the one side where I need to work. And might as well make that relatively clean. Now it is in balance, so we can do a little bit more speed to it. Just sort of give it a gentle curve. I'll leave plenty on the top side. We'll make the top side the thin part, or where we go to the thin part. Nothing exciting. A little bit of brown streaking in it. No real figure to it. I said that tenant was way too big, so we're going to shrink that down a little bit. Got some big marks on it. Not that we're not going to have to go back and do something with it. The easiest way is to get in there with this scraper, for sure. It's kind of amazing that the wet wood actually will scrape and actually do a pretty clean job, although Shouldn't talk too loud because there it took a little chunk out in there. We'll try it one more time. Definitely can see why. The opposite way you thought. I'm just cheating, Billy. That's all. I like to have total access. Total access to the whole piece. There's some bark sticking out. Probably could have actually had a little bit bigger foot on it even. Definitely don't need it as deep as what it is though. Full rest it just a shade high. Can't quite get the center on the downward angle because I want to get up underneath that center. I slide through it. Just don't get too carried away because it definitely is going to warp and twist and carry on anyhow. And I'll definitely have to do something more with that foot. Get rid of that little super sharp corner. Place for it to crack really quickly. Nothing else, I could just take the entire foot off once we get it done. Yeah, well, we're all kind of confused, you know. I'm always confused, so. So, one more time, flip it around, get back in. Still could have taken more off of that, but we're going to live with that. There's our bark going to fall out. So I guess if we're going to get creative, I guess it's going to be 1/8 of an inch thick out here. Because that's where it broke out at the bark. Well, like I say, it's a pretty uneventful kind of piece of wood, so you might as well play around and make it super thin, or at least super thin out here. That sounds like a thought. Clean off some gunk off the gouges. So if we do super thin into there and a little bowl in there, it must look like a little platter, maybe. Sounds like a plan. Should really warp and twist up out in there. So we'll say there. So we're a quarter, little cut. I said little cut. I'm gonna go right for the. Kind of wanted to slide on me a little bit. I should have taken the time to go sharpen that. So now we passed our bark. Yep. So it's about 1/8 of an inch thick right there. On just in that first inch. I'm just having a thought moment that probably not a good thought moment. Making that thinner than what it is. If I make it thin enough, I probably could sand it. Because the moisture is now out here at the outside edge, nothing in further. I think I'll think about that a second. I'm going to go sharpen these two gouges quick like. Okay, first I sharpen. Feels like I'm nice and consistent. Find the bevel, come out, pick up the cut. It's getting kind of flexible. Actually, it looks like I'm seeing light through it even. Yeah, it's very flexible right there. I think that's probably thin enough to actually pierce that. Okay. You want chips want to pile up in front of it. Makes it a little hard to see in there. Just having this brain thought. Probably not a good brain thought. Switch over to spindle gouge. I think I'm going to try and leave some of this center in here. Probably not a grand idea, but come on. I think I should have taken that spindle gouge along over with me. It certainly isn't cooperating, so it means it generally is dull. Or at least getting dull. Nice and flexible now. Maybe I should just keep on going. So I leave that in there. That'll take longer to dry than out here. I think we'll just get rid of it. I'm going to grab a piece of sandpaper though. Touch this edge right here. Because it screw around there, that became like a little razor blade right there. So if I was to touch that, we'd be in trouble. So we'll just get rid of the rest of it and be done with it. And try and match the outside shape is the hard part. Uh-oh. That didn't sound good. Oh, you shitting me. I think we done got a little too thin. Yes, we did. Shit. All that work for nothing. I was wondering why I was seeing black. That's my Chuck Bills. So we made a pile of shavings to make some designer firewood. For sure. Yeah, that's a shame because that's just got a little carried away in there. You won't be able to see it. I can see it though. Right at the edge of the tenant is where I started to go wrong. Definitely a very flexible kind of piece. Mm-hmm. Must be really weird and crazy. I'm gonna put it back on. I'm gonna finish that little cut in the center. By grabbing a hold of the tenant actually makes this thing even go more wonky than what it was. There's just nothing, not much left in there. I poked through there. That would be dumb. Very thin. A little thinner than what I wanted it to be. Shouldn't have been lazy. I should have got my light out and find my light in behind it. Oh, let it sit over here and see what it does. You win some, you lose some. In that case, we lost. What time is it? Yeah, it's 8:30. I think we'll just call it a day. We've had enough of a day. Not to mention I got another mountain of chips to clean up. Like I say, you win some, you lose some. Wasn't being as careful as what I should have been. So that's what you call a failure. But you're going to have them, especially when you try and do silly things like go real thin. But going real thin is fun. Don't get me wrong. I like to do that. I probably will do some more. But these logs yielded me um, probably almost a half a dozen little like 5-inch square blocks. So another day that we're going camping a little later this week, so might not do too much tomorrow. Maybe. I have to watch some more YouTube videos tonight. This trying to stream into both horizontal and vertical on YouTube is just driving me nuts. Watch a video, you change some things, and it still doesn't work. I don't know. I think I'm just gonna have to pick one or the other and call it that. Definitely left the evidence of the tannins on the bed. So we're gonna have to clean that. But y'all don't need to watch me doing that, so we are gonna grab the keyboard and call it a day. Anybody have any questions, comments? Now's the time. Otherwise, everybody have a good rest of your evening and yourselves.